video moves quickly. Expect to pause often to read through the sample passages. Point of view refers to the mode of narration employed by an author in a work of literature that allows the reader to hear or see what's taking place in the story. The main points of view are first person, third person limited, third person omniscient, and second person. First person is when a character in the work, not necessarily the same person as the author, is narrating the story. This is a limited perspective because the reader knows only what the narrator experiences. Typically, the narrator and reader develop a direct relationship, providing the reader insight into the narrator's credibility. The Catcher in the Rye is told in first-person point of view. Third-person limited is when the narrator knows only the thoughts and feelings of one character, usually the protagonist. The Harry Potter series is a classic example of third-person limited point of view. Third-person omniscient. Omniscient means all-knowing, so the omniscient narrator knows everything. Although these narrators may know more about the characters than they do themselves, the reader should watch for narrator bias. Nathaniel Hawthorne's Scarlet Letter is an example of a third-person omniscient narrator with a bias. In second person, the author controls all of the information for the reader and uses the pronoun you. Second-person point of view texts engage readers by speaking directly to them. Jay McInerney uses second-person point of view in the opening of his novel Bright Lights, Big City. There are variations on points of view. They are author intrusion, stream of consciousness, sequential multiple viewpoint, and epistolary structure and frame narrative. Author intrusion is when the narrator pulls the reader out of the main work to address another point, typically a judgmental statement about the nature of man, politics, or an attempt to release tension. In film, this technique is known as breaking the fourth wall. An example of this is the opening monologue in the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off. In East of Eden, John Steinbeck pauses his narrative to question what mankind considers normal. Stream of consciousness. Stream of consciousness writing is the description, in words, of the flow of thoughts through a character's mind. This technique is usually attributed to more modern pieces of literature. Ken Kesey's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Chuck Palahniuk's Fight Club contain instances of stream of consciousness writing. Sequential multiple viewpoint. In this variation, different characters tell the story from their perspective in a timeline or sequence. This technique allows the reader to understand the work from a variety of perspectives without the writer using an omniscient point of view. Barbara Kingsolver uses 5 sequential multiple viewpoints in the Poisonwood Bible. Epistolary structure and frame narrative. Epistolary structure uses first-person narration with the story through a series of letters, journals, or diary entries. A frame story is a story within a story or other narrative. The outer narrative wraps around and creates the situation that allows the inner narrative to be told. Mary Shelley used a frame structure to set up the epistolary format of Frankenstein.